Welcome back. In this video, we are going to start actually creating some shapes. First thing is to look at how we can navigate around. So up at the top here where we have this hand button, when we're in that mode, we can click with our left mouse button and drag around so we can view different parts of the screen. We could click the plus to zoom in, the minus to zoom out, or you can use your middle mouse button to scroll in and out. Another very handy feature is this one here with the magnifying glass without a plus or minus in it. We can use that to just drag a box and zoom in on a specific area. So I'm just going to go back here to where we roughly started here. And so now we're going to start by drawing some lines. What I'm going to start with is just a straight box. You can follow along. BCalc is going to be very similar if you're using that or another online graphing program. That's perfectly fine. And we will start off with, I want to create a box here, and we're going to create it 5 by 5. So I'm going to start with a horizontal line, and these are quite simple. So the Y value is going to stay constant on a horizontal line along the x-axis. So we will just put y equals 0. I'm going to make the line width quite thick here and black so you can see it easily. And there you can see it just drew a line straight down the x-axis. And so that's a start. Obviously it's not drawing our box. So if we double click on it on the equation on the left side there, we can go back in and we can add some constraints. So a constraint is something which limits how far it can go. So I will begin with showing you a very simple one where x has to be greater than 0. Now this is an inequality if you don't know these. So whereas the equal sign means y has to be equal to 0, this means x has to be larger than 0. The large side of the V points toward the large side. So x has to be bigger or greater than 0. If I click OK, now we'll see this line only extends where the x values are larger than 0. Again, this still doesn't quite work for our box because it goes too far. So I'll open it up again. And I will just add another number in here. Actually, let me just delete this one out. This is the way that I like to do it, is 0 is less than x, which is less than 5. So what you'll see happens here is that x has to be between 0 and 5. This sets limits on both sides of our x value. And now we have a line just going from 0 to 5. So I could type a new one for the top line, or I could just right click copy, right click paste. Now I have another one. I can double click to edit. And what I want to do here is create one that is the same length but goes along 5. So now I'll move my y value to 5, and just like that I have another line up there. So probably would be quite obvious how we're going to create the edges, but this time our x value is going to be the one to stay the same because we're running the opposite direction. So this time x equals 0. The constraints are going to stay pretty much the same, only this time we are going to constrain y, not x, because we want limits on how far it goes up and down on the y-axis. And so there I have that line. I can copy and paste, edit this one, and this time we'll go to x equals 5, and we have our first box. So this looks great. We got a good start here. Experiment with these, play around, make different shapes, make them rectangles, and then come back and we will look at how we can fill these in. So when we want to fill these in, we're going to do the same kind of thing, only we're just going to do inequalities right from the start. So in this case, for my relation, I'm going to use an inequality just like I did for the length on the line, on any of those lines. And I'm going to say I want to go 0 is less than x, which is less than 5. So again, I'm sandwiching x in between 0 and 5. I'm going to create, let's do this one green. And I'm going to leave this hash style. Actually, I'm going to change it to a mesh like that to make it clear what happens here. Drop this down a little bit. Now, do you see when this happens? It fills in all the areas where x is less than 5 and greater than 0. But again, we aren't constrained in the y. So there's two ways that we can do this so that it limits itself to the box. The first way is to do another inequality for our constraint in the y. And there it goes. It fills in our box nicely. Another way to do it, which can come in very handy, if I delete that out, I can write it all in the relation box by saying and 0 is less than y, which is less than 5. Now sometimes this can come in really handy because once we start to deal with triangles and different shapes, we need to put quite a few different constraints in on one shape. This allows us to put in lots of constraints. If we want to have the mesh go behind the black box instead of in front of it, it's as simple as dragging the equation up. As the program creates them, it actually goes from the top equations to the bottom equations. So whichever equations are on the bottom are going to draw last, so they will be on top. You'll see this as we go farther on. We really need this because we need some shapes to be behind other shapes. So here you go. We have begun our basic lesson here. We've built a box, and from this you can start experimenting and changing shapes and sizes and see where you can go with it.